Friends, neighbors, creatures of the night. Today, I'm going to tell you a story about the worst youth basketball team you have ever seen. This was my team. We were active from 4th grade to 9th grade with our main core, and when we won, it was not pretty, and when we lost, it was absolutely brutal. I'm still friends with some people on this team, and recently they have brought to my memory some pretty funny occasions on this team. Once, we lost a game. We played 4 8-minute quarters as we normally did, and the team that beat us averaged 1 basket a quarter, totaling 8 points. They doubled our score. 4. That's all we got. That's all we got. 4 points. Oh my god, it was so bad. I don't know if you've seen the show Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but if you've seen the episode where they have to coach like a youth basketball league, that team on that episode would have beat us. And keep in mind, in that episode, the team had a kid who didn't even bring shoes. There was another kid where anytime someone asked him a question, he'd go, I don't know. That team would have beat us. And beat us bad, too. So, let me introduce you to some of our players. We had 2 decent point guards for the league, although our league sucked ass, so it's not saying much, but and I'm going to use fake names here. One of our point guards, Gregory, a guy I'm still friends with. You know, he was small, but he was quick, and by our standards, he could shoot. And then there was also Mike, who was very similar. Not very tall, but quick and could shoot by our standards. Those were probably our 2 best players, but I was also pretty good for this team. I was our perennial defensive MVP. I always led in blocks and rebounds, and I made a basket or 2 every now and then. Now keep in mind, that's not saying much. My cousin, who's actually good at basketball, he was the star point guard for the high school team. He always beat me in one-on-one, and he was always shorter than me and a year younger than me, so I wasn't very good. But I digress. A step below me and the other 2 guys, we had 2 kids who I'm also friends with to this day, Alexander and Connor. Now, Alexander had a similar play style to myself, but I was just a little bit better than he was. No big deal though. Like I said, he would get blocks, he would get some rebounds, he'd score some points. Nothing to complain about, especially in this league. Connor, he would always get steals. He was great at taking the ball away. But every single time, without fail, he would run into the corner and dribble the ball and get caught in the corner because he was faster than everybody on the court. But then he'd dribble into a corner, get stuck, and then throw the ball right back to the other team. Because none of us were open, God knows. And then we get into the truly bad, the bad of the bad. Josh thought he could shoot, and he couldn't. He would always take 3-pointers, and they'd barely ever go in. He thought he was really good, and he'd always get mad when we wouldn't give him the ball, but we wouldn't give the ball to him for a reason. He always had this thing where he'd like stick his tongue out and make this weird face. I don't know what was wrong with him, but yeah, that was Josh. Then we had Dallas. Dallas was the biggest kid on our team, and not in a good way. And he was also a crybaby. I remember multiple distinct occasions. Most of the time in practice, he would come in for a layup, and I'd be on D, and, I'd stand there. I wouldn't, let up. He'd charge me, so he would commit a foul on me, and then he'd fall over and start crying. And I'm like, bro, that happened multiple times in practice. But the worst time is when he didn't in a game. He embarrassed us all so bad on that day. Crying in front of the other team, in front of his parents, bringing shame to his entire family. It was sad. But, what do you expect? We were kids. We did have one good year. 8th grade, we only lost 2 games, and they were both against the same team. And they were both really close, too. But we would meet that team again in the playoffs and get knocked out in the first round, so that sucked. But here's the real highlight, everybody. John, the worst basketball player I've seen in my entire life. Like I said, we were all together playing basketball for about 5 different years growing up, from 4th grade to 9th grade. And John never improved. He would dribble like a straight up ape. He'd like bounce the ball as hard as he could, and it would like fly up above his head, and then he'd get it taken from him like every single time. And it's like, bro, I don't think he ever made a shot, and he was a straight up liability on defense. I feel like we would have done better on defense if he would be on the bench and we'd just play with 4 players, to be completely honest. He would just kind of like back up under the basket, and then like the guy would just get a layup, and it's like, John, what the hell are you doing, man? But the highlight of John's basketball career was one game. It was in 8th grade, and it was against that team, the only team that beat us. We were down by 1. Only a few seconds left, and John had the ball. He looked at the basket. He grabbed the ball. He bent his knees. We know he was going up for a shot. And he shoots. And the ball goes backwards. It went backwards when he tried to shoot it. Lost us the game right there. Now, I'm not saying if anyone else took the shot, we would have won. But no one else would have shot it backwards. I actually do remember one time John made a shot. Everybody knew he was bad. We all did. But one day, we were losing by probably 45 points. This was our last year together. And John made a free throw. And the entire crowd went crazy. The other team's parents, our team's parents, siblings, children. Nobody else would watch our games, but you know. 1 point, and everyone cheers. No one else cheered for any other shot. But that time, they did. And this brings us to freshman year of high school, 9th grade, our last year together. See, with this league, most of the kids went on to play like for their high school teams or whatever, or stopped playing basketball. But if you wanted to keep playing, it was kind of, a not super competitive league, as you've probably figured out by now. Well, that means in high school, they combined all the grade levels into one team. So you'd have like freshmen playing with seniors. But the thing is, our team was the only team that was all freshmen. And this was the worst year by far. We'd get dominated every single game. Because most of the teams were like seniors and like juniors who were on their high school basketball teams just trying to screw around basically. And they would just destroy us every time. It was truly pathetic. And yeah, that's the story of the worst basketball team ever. If you cheer for the Charlotte Hornets or the Pelicans or some other dog-ass NBA team, just remember, at least John's not on your team. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.